Welcome. I'm Andrew Fazekas, the Night Sky Guy. Thank you so much for joining me this week for my show. I hope you have clear skies wherever you are. And for the week of August 24th, we're talking about some amazing things that you can see in the sky, starting with the moon. And here we have set up the beautiful setup of the moon on August 25th, Tuesday, where the moon will be very close to this object that is called Antares, a star that is 550 light years away. It's a brilliant orange star. It's a red giant star, and it marks the brightest star in the constellation Scorpius, the mythical arachnoid constellation that is now visible in the south. This is now what you're seeing here is the planetarium software that I use that is set up for my positioning on Earth. So I'm located in Montreal, Canada. I'm at the 45th degree latitude north of the equator. I'm about halfway between the North Pole and the equator. Now, wherever you are on the Earth, you'll be able to see the moon and Antares, but their orientation might be different from what you're seeing here. But the separation between these objects will be similar. And so just keep that in mind for wherever you are, that definitely the orientation is different, but you will see, just like what you're seeing here on this planetarium software depiction, that the moon, which is in the quarter phase, or half of the moon's disk is lit up for us. This is on Tuesday, August 25th. The moon will point the way to Antares. Now, what's also amazing to see in this representation, of course, is that there are some deep sky objects beyond the solar system, other than just the star Antares, that are visible and are perfect for binoculars and telescopes. Now, the moon's glare will definitely cut down on how much you're going to be seeing with this pair of deep sky objects that I'm going to be talking about now. But the moon will get out of the way in the next few days. Later, by the end of August, the moon will be beyond this, will have moved towards the east, left behind this part of the sky. But those beautiful deep sky objects and where they are placed will be exactly the same. It'll be the same this year. It'll be the same 5 years from now. And even when your great-great-grandchildren are around, those objects will still be placed where you see them this week. And so the moon will just guide us this week to finding them, especially if you're new to the hobby. So what I wanted to pay attention to is right off of the right of Antares is a beautiful deep sky object called a globular cluster. Its name is Messier 4. It's number 4 on a list of 110 objects put together by Charles Messier, a 17th century astronomer who was really looking for comets. And in his journey and hunt in the sky for comets, he found a lot of really interesting objects, deep sky objects. And he's created this list that has now become a standard for backyard sky watchers around the world. And M4, Messier 4, is a wonderful example of what we call a globular cluster. It's over 7,000 light years away. And check this out. This is what the view is through a photograph through a telescope of Messier 4. This M4 is just a beautiful collection in a shape of a ball of hundreds of thousands of stars. This, again, is located over 7,000 light years away, and you're looking at this collection of hundreds of thousands of stars. It kind of reminds me a lot of if you would just kind of pour out a pile of sugar on a black tablecloth and you're looking at it from above, and all those sugar crystals are just scattered about, except you have a mound of sugar crystals in the middle. And that's kind of what the effect that you're seeing here in this photograph. And of course, in observing this as well, if I zoom in on my software, you'll be able to see a little bit behind those crosshairs what I'm talking about, that kind of pile of sugar crystal effect that happens on that black backdrop of space. So this is a really cool object. It's a called a globular cluster. We know of a few hundred scattered around the edge of like a halo around the Milky Way galaxy we call home, and it's just off to the side of Antares. You'll be able to see another one that is really neat is just underneath the quarter moon, again on August 25th. This is after nightfall. Underneath the moon is what's called Messier 80. And Messier 80 is another example of a globular cluster, a city of hundreds of thousands of stars. But this one is located much farther away at 130,000 light years away. And so it's a real massive star cluster, M80. Beautiful. It's more compact. It's farther away. If you look at the central core of this object, again, this is a view through a small telescope. It'll be much fainter than this. This is a long exposure photograph, but it gives you a great idea of what the view will be like. So check that out, M80, really fantastic object. And of course, if you're watching this, you'll see this interesting object. You're probably wondering what that is. Rho Ophiuchi Nebula. Ophiuchi Nebula is basically this beautiful gas and dust cloud that's hanging around Antares. And if we actually look at it through a telescope, you'll see grayish blobs, and definitely you'll see that there's a cloud there. But through photography, this is incredible. I mean, check this beautiful image. It looks like a tapestry of colors. What you're looking at are stars that are embedded in these clouds of gas that make the surrounding gas glow like a neon sign. And that is this beautiful effect that you get from stars basically sending out their radiation and exciting the atoms in the gas clouds and making them glow, just like a neon sign here on Earth happens. It's the same science going on. It's absolutely beautiful. And so that's that cloud that we're seeing there. So if we zoom back out into the more open sky view, that what you would see with the naked eye, again, that's Tuesday. Now, if we skip ahead in the time period, we move to Wednesday. Wednesday night, the moon will be now on the left side of Antares. So on Wednesday night, if you go outside, this is the view that you would see. The moon will be in a very interesting lineup, in fact, with Saturn, Jupiter off to its far left, almost in a perfect line. And then underneath, lower right of the moon, will be the star Antares. So it's going to make a very interesting kind of view for the naked eye. So this is something definitely you don't need binoculars or telescopes for, because to soak in this grand view that's going to span right across from the southeast to the southwest sky after nightfall on Wednesday, you're going to need just your eyes to capture in all of that you're seeing here in this representation on my planetarium program. So if we move now, we move forward in time, and we move in towards Thursday, August 26th. This is what you'll see. The moon will now be parked in Sagittarius, just off to the side of Jupiter and Saturn. This is the view. So Jupiter, Saturn, and the moon are going to be in a perfect lineup now. It won't be that crooked lineup that you saw on Wednesday, but a perfect lineup, Saturn, Jupiter, and the moon. And this is a great time, again, to go outside and find Jupiter, Saturn. If you've never seen this planet, both these planets, it's a great time to see them. But the show gets better towards the end of the month. So check this out. By Friday, August 28th, the moon and Jupiter will be super close together. This is the view on August 28th. It's an absolutely beautiful pairing of these two worlds. It's amazing to think that Jupiter is so far away that it looks just like a star, but a brilliant star. And knowing that it's a planet is incredible to think about that. And to think that it is so far away that it takes light 36 minutes to reach our eye. Just think about that. From that point of light above the moon, that will be paired up with the moon, it takes 36 minutes from that gas giant world to reach your eye. It's incredible. Meanwhile, right next to it is the waxing gibbous moon, very bright. right? It'll be competing in its brightness with Jupiter, outshining it, of course, but that's because our moon is only 400,000 kilometers away. It takes only just over a second, 1.2 seconds, for the light to travel from the surface of the moon to your eye when you're looking at it. And think about it. This is just with your naked eye. You do not need the telescope, right? This is what's so cool. You don't need a telescope to see Jupiter and the moon together in the sky. In fact, your eye is absolutely the best optical equipment to get to see the pair together. Now, if you have binoculars, like for instance, something like this, that's where it gets more interesting. Because when we have binoculars like this, you can get closer views. So if I jump back to the view here and I zoom in on Jupiter, check this out. So here, this is a simulated view of what you would see through a pair of binoculars. Through a pair of binoculars, you'll get to view the planet, obviously, at the center, and then you'll see these 4 little dots on either spread out on either side of Jupiter. So this one's on Thursday, I should say Friday, August 28th, when the moon is parked next to Jupiter. If you look at Jupiter through binoculars, you will see 4 little dots. Io, Ganymede, Europa, Callisto. These are the 4 Galilean moons, moons that were first discovered by Galileo, the Italian astronomer, back in the 1600s. So over 400 years ago. I think it was in 1609 when he first saw them through the newly invented telescope. And just a pair of binoculars held steady will really show that. Now, this one's by Celestron, and it is 15 by 70. So what does that mean, 15 by 70? So if you have a pair of binoculars, you might be wondering what those numbers mean. So basically, the first number, in my case, it's 15. The first number means it's 15 times the magnification of the human eye. That's what that means. That's what that number means. And 70 refers to the lens in the front. So as you can see here, if we zoom in on this here, you'll see that these here, right here, this pair, these 2 lenses are each 70 millimeters across. So from one end to here, 70 millimeters, and then same here, 70 millimeters across. So when it says 15 by 70, means 15 times magnification of the human eye and it's 70 millimeters across. Now, why is this important? The wider the front lens of your binoculars, the more contrasty, higher contrast, clearer, sharper the views, especially of faint objects in the sky. It'll be much better, the views. So the bigger this front lens is, the wider is. Of course, it starts getting heavy too, right? So the binoculars do get heavy. That's the trade-off with getting larger lenses. This gets very heavy. So an average pair of binoculars that you might have somewhere in a closet somewhere at home is probably something closer to like a 7 by 50 pair. So it means it's 7 times the magnification of the human eye and has a 50 millimeter wide front lens. And that is good too. Those are good binoculars and it's great to sew. Whatever you have at home is probably great to start off with. You don't have to make a major investment. How much does a pair of binoculars like something like this cost? It depends. You can buy them on sale sometimes for like under $100, maybe for $75. Sometimes they cost as much as $200, $250. And there's a lot of different manufacturers out there that produce really quality binoculars. Oh, and of course, before I forget, to see this, to see actually, you want to go see these kind of views that you're seeing here, where you're getting, Jupiter and the moons that you're seeing here. This is going to be with holding your binoculars steady, right? So if you don't have a telescope, but you have a pair of binoculars, one trick is to prop yourself up against a wall to hold them steady, or on a windowsill perhaps. But better yet is getting a tripod. You might have a photo tripod somewhere for your camera, and getting an adapter. And a lot of these new pair of binoculars have a little attachment here. So like we can unscrew this part right here. Let's see. And you see unscrewed there, the cap, and that is something that you can attach a little gizmo to that attaches to your tripod, your camera tripod, and voila, your binocular is now mounted on a photo tripod, and it holds it nice and steady, and you can see these moons that I'm talking about. These moons are now becoming visible to you because you've held your binocular steady. So that's a big tip if you want to see those moons of Jupiter. So that is on Friday, August 28th. You get to see this wonderful sun to finish off the work week into the weekend. Saturday, August 29th, guess what? The moon will be pairing up with Saturn. It's just a beautiful, beautiful sight. That one too, if you have, of course, a telescope, you'll see the rings of Saturn as well. So the moon and Saturn pair up. Now, before I leave, one more thing I'd love for you guys to try to find is what we call a double star. And there's a wonderful double star. These are a pair, what looks like a pair of stars. So what you're looking for is two stars that appear close together in binoculars or telescopes. And one really famous one this time of the year, especially in the northern hemisphere, it's way up in the sky, is around a constellation called Cygnus. So check this out. So we're going to go and see this part of the sky. We'll move it up here. And a great guidepost for finding this very famous double star in the constellation Cygnus the Swan is finding, of course, the summer triangle. And the summer triangle is marked off by Vega, Altair, and Deneb. So these three stars mark off what we call the summer triangle. And it's high up for those of us in the northern hemisphere, mid-northern latitude, really high up in the overhead sky. And this time of the year, end of August, in the early evening. And this is a wonderful guidepost for starting our find of Cygnus the Swan, because Deneb marks the head of what's called the Northern Cross, or the tail of the swan. So this is the swan. You can see the mythological character drawn out here. But for a lot of us as sky watchers, what we see is not necessarily a swan. We see what's called the Northern Cross. And that's formed by these stars right here where I have my marker. My mouse is going over them, and you can see that's the bottom of the cross. The head of the cross is marked by Deneb. But on the other side, at the bottom of the cross, is this other yellow golden colored star called Alberio. And Alberio is a really neat star if you have a large pair of binoculars or a small telescope, and I'll show you why. Because when you zoom in, you get to see it as a double star. Surprise, surprise. It's not one star, but two stars. They're so close together to the human eye, we can't see it. So we need to have magnification to be able to break up this pair. And sure enough, these two, what's magnificent about them is their color. Look at the color. So you can see that there's green. The one on the left is green, and then the one on the right is more golden orange color. And so these stars are actually orbiting each other, and we think they're about 380 light years away. So what you're looking at when you're looking at this pair of stars from your sky with your binoculars or telescopes, it's amazing to think you're looking at a star that's 380 light years away. The light has taken 380 years to reach your eye. I think that, that in itself is just, it's incredible to think about, the travel time, the sheer distances that we're talking about when we're looking at the night sky is incredible. It's hard for our minds to wrap around what exactly how the distances are. So that's going to be something really I think you'll highly enjoy, is looking at that. And there's a lot more to see. And in future episodes, I'm going to be going and diving in a little bit more about what are some of the other objects that are in this part of the sky around the summer triangle, what we can see. We're heading into changing into September now. It's still an amazing time, really amazing to see these summer northern hemisphere objects really shine at their best. And there's a lot of deep sky treasures that we can actually go in and dive into. And we'll explore some more in a future episode. And until then, I hope you have, you get a chance to go outside with just your eyes, with binoculars and telescope. It doesn't matter. Whatever way you can get out, enjoy the night sky. Spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes on a clear night. If you have kids, get them out, explore them together. You don't have to be the one teaching them. You guys can learn together. Families can learn together. And it doesn't take too much time to become familiar with the night sky. Learn 5 constellations per season to begin with, just with the human eye, and where they are and where to find them. It's as easy as that. You just need to have, of course, the curiosity, a little bit of a guide. And that's why you're here watching this video, is learning a little bit of some tidbits of what you can start seeing. The moon is a great way to start. Looking at the planets is a fantastic way to start. But there's a lot more out there that you can start observing if you just take it to the next level a little bit, maybe with binoculars and eventually with a telescope, and just knowing how to navigate the night sky. And that's what I'm here for, the Night Sky Guy, to help you navigate. If you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, please, and make sure you follow this channel. Hit that notification as well, so you don't miss my next video. And until then, of course, I wish all of you guys out there staying safe, staying healthy. And until next time, clear skies. Bye-bye.